asking me no katok sabe by glo Prime Minister. Na open member blota report. Question me pass law. All electorates were imiwok lo burkimol. And 2027 election come up now. And me like ask him some question. He pass one time. Last time he go finish me burkimol some la big la electorates. He go two la electorates. And this platform can 2027 election by come close to. And you meet to I plan him lo burkimol some la tu go click. Electoral Boundaries Commission I been round walking walk long em yai bingo finish. Planti lo mi all provinces too where mi play like him by burkim too mi plat too. I been ask him lo I come up lo mi pla. All same na mi like ask him tas all. Manus pa imi look sabe long em monogat. Ask him lo mi game lick background past them. Lo saiplo manus mi sabe considering manus also mi lick. Because population blow me blame about 80,000. But no can lose thing also almost 50,000 to establish different provinces where walk. Also na imsa looking manus also manus iliklik. Ikam lo pasin lo two. Or laws pro country isabe look sabe law. More than one provinces now all administrative work too. For example, manus now Mibla got one by administrator at the same time M2 district administrator. Manus two by look sabe Mibla got 12 pla LLGs time law it took also Mimi must got only popla LLGs inside law one bla district. But suppose Mibla having popla President Stasolo Manus, na tubla members of parliament, and Pamibla 6 pla mantas all. Now it no make sense time we come to passing law debate na passing law. All some la kain when me halbin. Lo make him case plo mibla by come up all same. By Ibla look sabe law. You remember we established 2013 or 14. It been got one law formula only use him. Lo money lo glong all provinces. Hamas pla open member established one province. Governor by Kisim 5 million kina. A minimal same people province where got 9 blood districts or 8 blood districts. And by governor by Kisim 85 million kina. Now base law display. Manus mi got 1 blood district as well, mi kisim 5 million kina. Open member of law mi kisim 10 million kina. Make him the smallest time mi boss law province. So all this play come up even time lo burki money can nungo 5 million all keta mi no ben kisim too. So those are the challenges where mi plus samlai look service so meeting this plat talk to lo manus come up special case enough now. So mi like him you mi look lo display. Me too like talk survey also nungo plan di lo like manus click through. But me like talking also whilst Mibla got 80,000 population, Mibla got 2,100 square kilometers of land, but Solwara Mibla is 276,000 square kilometers of Solwara, making us one of the biggest provinces in the country. Tubla LLG Blomi, one by stop Namel Blomanus, now the Sipics. Na Narapa Awa Bubulu is even close to Lo Sipik. Tete outside law hosting blomi. Tete yumi tok mi starting one bla bats, one bla pontoon where you carry more cargo you go through lo manus. Lo distribute him lo all get a island blomi all. Materials lo schools, teachers house, housing. It cost me 1.2 million kina. Lo one black trip, but I'm working more than one black trip. Now imagine him 10,000 when we kiss him, 10 million when we kiss him. 60% blown money finish the solo display. But the come up lo solwara I think also manus na sa contribute. Because all get something can command lo NFA, but we contribute big plat through lo country. Also so I pass all display hiccups. Me ask him, suppose Prime Minister you play look because me play buruki me play pinis, if you him look sabi bin come before in nablo to play districts pinis. So suppose you play put him manus he come up inside now. Me no looking by come up pick up. You know na buruki him all carrying LLGs by he disturb him. But me lo sim lo wisdom lo ipla lo look, but I like lo me play manus through. Me play like him nungud now go come up 2032. Nungud you play including me play lo display.
Honorable Governor, sorry me onem you. You got 4 plus 5 minutes. That's also you. Shima background play clear law. Minister na onem law and we can.
Thank you.
Clear, so you can ask him question. Thank you. Governor.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. Emi, kamlo pinis plongem na pata. Kolos to bla weekend me like sanap tok na ibla no give me chance or sem na me like try and pull him go long bla likely. But question blame also me na Prime Minister. You me look na imi porque manu si go to bla. Thank you.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. I want to appreciate the question from the Manus Governor. Manus is a big province by area size. To run from Loringau to Wuwulu and Awa, for instance, it will take a day and a half on speedboat, on barge possibly 2 days. To go to Los Negros Islands, to go to even the westernmost and northwest islands, as well as within. The province itself is quite big. Connect PNG is running a road from Loringau to go to the far west in a proposed fishing township that we want to build called Drauke. In my first thought, I thought it was 50 kilometers or so road. Later I was advised it's over 100 kilometers. So it shows a substantial distance from the Federation of East to the Federation of West on the main island of Manus. So the question is in order, but I want to advise this House through this question that the Electoral Boundaries Commission sits every 10 years. It's not every parliament that the Electoral Boundaries convene. The Electoral Boundaries Commission sits every 10 years, pegged against possible population increase. And they count our population as a key index to calculate whether a province or a district could be split or more districts could come in. Knowing that it sits every 10 years, in 2020 or 2019, we did commission EBC to be convened, and based on the EBC findings, in 2022, 5 new electorates came in. That same report also established that that there must be another 4 or so new electorates. I may be wrong in the numbering, but at least some electorates were identified in the 2020 report, and we did have 5 or so electorates in 2022, and the balance of the recommendations will come in 2027. Mr. Assistant Speaker, following law, a new EBC could be convened, and it's up to the government that comes in 2027 to convene and look at population and look at area size, and from just observation and knowing the country, I feel Manus is qualified. Some electorate still remains big, and in the new EBC that is constituted, Manus would be given fair considerations to the due process because of land size and even population approaching possible 100,000 is overqualified for a split. But we will certainly consider this. If this government comes back in office in 2027 after the elections, then obviously we would constitute an EBC, and EBC will get to work. Recommendation, EBC will start work at around 2030, and as 2030 report is finalized, if Manus is given that consideration, then part of the process would see new electorates coming on board, hopefully Manus amongst them in 2032. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker.
The Governor for Pacific.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. My question without notice is also directed to the Prime Minister, simply because he would have the longest knowledge of the question that I'm about to ask. Now, the question is in relation to the autonomy arrangements for Bougainville. I didn't want to ask the Minister because I felt that the PM is probably one of the longest serving members in the House, and he would be well versed with this response. First of all, my first question, and again it comes back to the briefing that we had yesterday from the Bipartisan Committee on Bougainville in relation to the ratification process that would be on foot towards the end of this year, I understand. And so my series of questions is in relation to that, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Assistant Speaker. First of all, and again, I think I speak for many provinces who are interested in the autonomy arrangements that have been trialed, experimented on in Bougainville. So my first question is, what are the key differences between the autonomy arrangements on Bougainville and the rest of the provinces? This question is framed because I noticed that the members of parliament from Bougainville, Mr. Assistant Speaker, for the last maybe couple of decades that autonomy has been on Bougainville, they have been in this House asking the same questions that the members from other parts of the country are asking. And this gets me to wonder, if they have autonomy arrangements on Bougainville, why are they still dealing with the same issues that we are dealing with? So what are the differences? What are the key differences which would make the autonomy arrangements on Bougainville different to what the rest of us have in PNG? My next question is, did the autonomy arrangements on Bougainville, did they work or did they fail? If they worked or failed, have there been any audits of the autonomy arrangements on Bougainville? Has there been any reviews of the autonomy arrangements on Bougainville? Or have any studies been done by any of our research institutions to understand what happened on Bougainville and whether the learnings, positive or negative, can be applied or rejected across the rest of Papua New Guinea? In relation to that, if there are any such reports available to the Prime Minister or to the Office of Bougainville Affairs, can the government table those reports so that the members of this House and the people of Papua New Guinea can be informed as to the results of the autonomy experiment on Bougainville? And finally, in relation to the ratification issues that are going to be imminent upon us this year, can the government inform the House if they have a schedule of activities? Because I noticed that most of the members of this parliament are new, perhaps 90% are new. And like the rest of the country, they may not be fully versed on the issues around Bougainville and the work that has been undertaken between the autonomous Bougainville government and the Papua New Guinea government over the past 20 years. If there is such a schedule of events, can either the Minister or the Prime Minister, on behalf of the government, table it for the benefit of the members and the people of Papua New Guinea? Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker.
Mr. Prime Minister.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Assistant Speaker. Me like talk, thank you, Lord Governor Blaisipik, Lord. Good series of questions, and me ask him. That is very important for the fullest understanding of this Parliament and people of our country. I want to firstly say the difference, the first question, what is the difference between the autonomous arrangements we have in Bougainville and the other provinces who are now aspiring for autonomy? Firstly, the other provinces operate under the Organic Law on Provincial and Local Level Government, 1995 Organic Law on Provinces and Local Level Government. Bougainville operates under Part 14 of our Constitution. And so Bougainville is a direct creation of our Constitution through the amendment that took place in 2001, and their autonomy is clearly defined. The other provincial governments, we're working towards an autonomous arrangements, but it is not yet defined in law. Right now, the decentralized powers, especially the organic law and provincial local of government 1995, you are operating under that ambit of that law and the powers that is prescribed under this law. And for the reference of most of you governors, if not all of you, Section 42 of that law gives you the fullest scope of powers that you have right now in your provinces. Bougainville, to come to the third question on have we studied or are certain as to what has happened in Bougainville, I want to give a straight up answer. Right now as I speak, I have no clearest study on what has fully transpired in Bougainville this day. The state of autonomy and the respect because of the crisis that has happened in Bougainville, this government, as I would be, if I'm not wrong, I was part of last government, and I was also part of the Somali government, that we, in every dialogue with leaders of Bougainville, the conversation on transparency, good governance, reporting has always been blurred simply at the backdrop knowing fully that they are a special case, they come from the crisis, so some element of sympathy from Waigani to them has not compelled much of accountability and reporting back to Waigani. And I would certainly, in the next meeting we have with the Bougainville leaders, ask for a study on what has happened so we could help them in the course of what is coming ahead of them and us as we relate going forward into the future. But no full audit or no full review or study has taken place in respect to shared power sharing arrangements. However, the fullest, the autonomous function is already clearly defined in Part 14 of our Constitution. And I recollect in a 2010 JSB, I was then Education Minister. The first function that national government transferred was the education function under my watch. Almost all functions would have been transferred to Bougainville. Today, some functions are still here. This government still try, and on both sides, Waigani and Buka, the headquarters of the autonomous region of Bougainville, somewhat slow. Buka is not anxious to ask for drawdown of powers, and Waigani sometimes is also slow to transfer powers. But JSB under my watch have given full instruction that all powers as described must be held by Bougainville, must go to Bougainville. And so we have worked within this prescription, and most powers have been transferred. You would have looked at some economic powers, for instance, the national fisheries, work with the fisheries on Bougainville to give fisheries power. Forestry has been transferred. Full land that we have in state land as prescribed is now transferred to the Bougainville government. So all state land in Bougainville remains part of Bougainville government land. The only thing we retain are sovereign related issues, defense, currency, foreign affairs, those matters retained. Almost all functions are now being transferred to Bougainville, and as part of the process of ushering in the referendum results into the floor of Parliament, this Parliament will be informed on the full status of PNG Bougainville relationship in as far as power transfer and operation of the powers concerned. But as I said earlier, Part 14 of our Constitution clearly is the difference between the autonomous Bougainville government and the rest of the provincial governments we have in our country. I want to also say that for the education of present generation of Papua New Guineans, this is not this Parliament's doing. A process has been set since 2001, Bougainville Peace Agreement. The the gist of the peace agreement was transplanted into Part 14 of the Constitution. That's why in 2019 there was a sunset clause to a date in which referendum must be held. Section 338 of that part of our Constitution compels that on the 10th anniversary, in between the 10th anniversary and the 15th anniversary of the first autonomous government, there must be a referendum held. And the referendum was, the questions on referendum was also explicit as given in the Constitution. So the then O'Neill government proposed and accepted the two questions. A question on what, if you want, you vote on two issues. You vote for autonomy or you vote for full political independence. And so those questions were accepted and those questions were put to the ballot. And under the prescribed of Section 338, referendum was 338 of the Constitution, referendum was held. And the results, as all of us know, it will be forever and timeless. Is 97.7% of the people who voted for independence. We are time bound. I think the governor did inform or ask on what has happened since. Well, after the referendum in 2019, whilst COVID-19 delayed a little bit, we had 5 rounds of post-referendum consultation. First, and that's sanctioned under 341 subsection 1 of the Constitution. At a meeting in Kokopo, we had post-referendum consultation. Our national government, on behalf of the country, we put to them that yes, you voted, but there are set process in place. Just because you voted doesn't mean you have automatic independence. Section 342 subsection 2 says the process must be ratified or Parliament must make decision. It must come to Parliament. But it also, there's a room for leaders' dialogue. There's a room, in fact, the wisdom of the 2001 peace agreement, lest we forget, the Part 14 was brought in as a result of a peace agreement. And so the first purpose of the meeting in 2001 or thereabouts was to find peace. And in the effort to find peace, the push to get a referendum, the push to get a referendum on independence, the push for Part 14 to be part of the Constitution came in 2001. So that process is running. It is live as we speak. And the process in the wisdom of 2001, in subsection 338 also says, I think there's subsection 7 that says that the leaders must also consult, and Bougainville Autonomous Government will decide whether referendum is held or not held. But they voted for referendum to be held. We complied it must take place within the 10 to 15 year anniversary of the first government. Sunset was in 2019. The referendum was held at the advice of United Nations. I repeat, at the advice of United Nations. United Nations said key prerequisites were complied. One of them was all guns were returned. Second was good governance was exercised. That's subject to anyone's guess, but at this stage 338 is retired. We now are waiting 342 subsection 2 to be retired. And I did put to the parliamentary committee on Bougainville that there was wisdom in 2001 peace agreement. And I want to give greatest commendation to Bougainville leaders. They came at the backdrop of pain, loss, stress, crisis, more lives lost. It is estimated that over 20,000 lives lost on both sides. PNG side less, Bougainville more. But at the backdrop of pain, tears, and crisis, they agreed that this process must run its course. And I give credit to the leaders of Bougainville, including President Toroma, who was then a key signatory to the peace agreement. That he never stopped in the way of saying the peace agreement must not be brought into Parliament, allow national Parliament to have its course. And credit is given to that generation of leaders also. They said the Parliament will make decision. I want to place on this Parliament's record my appreciation to Ismail President Toroma, the Honorable President Toroma and his leadership. At first they said no, Parliament is just a rubber stamp to the decision made by the people. But this side defended. Parliament is not a rubber stamp. Parliament is the supreme lawmaking authority of the land. 342 subsection 2 that says Parliament will make decision, means members of Parliament will then take a vote on what was the outcome, what is the outcome. So we've agreed in the Kokomo meeting to push to a WABEC meeting. In the WABEC meeting, key milestone dates were set out. So we had a meeting in WABEC, all in the interest to take Bougainville leaders outside of Port Moresby and Bougainville to see the rest of the country. They went into, the Enga provincial government was hospitable. We were in Enga province. Discussions on key milestones were then reached. And then we had the Era Kone Covenant that established that this must take place as we prepare to usher in the results of the Parliament. But key amongst some technical issues came into play. How do you usher in? There is no constitutional provision, there is no standing, or actually constitutional provision to usher in the result of the Parliament. This is unprecedented. So both sides agreed that a session order will be used. The session order will then suspend standing orders, usher in the results, and we will go through the results of the table, and this Parliament will take a vote on this one. And so we have a meeting or two outstanding before the results are brought into Parliament. It is almost fait accompli. The leaders on the ground, fait accompli, meaning the process has started. The journey of the results coming to Parliament is on foot. There will be a date this year, preferably before September 16 this year, that the results come in and each member of Parliament will go through this. I think two Parliament sessions earlier, I did ask, if my memory is not wrong, I did ask our government caucus that all provincial governors take resolution in your own respective assemblies as to what you view should be the way your province look at the referendum results. So I hope all provincial governments have taken this as a point of decision making, or you discuss in your own assemblies. But when it comes to the National Assembly or National Parliament, we will discuss on the results of this vote, and Parliament will then take a decision. This is a constitutional vote. On this side, we believe this is not ordinary vote. This is a constitutional vote. Constitutional numbers, 3/3 majority takes precedent in the affirmative or in the negative of the results. But I want to say to us here in this Parliament, and say to the Bougainville House of Representatives, the Bougainville Parliament, the Bougainville people, there is no fear in the process. The 2001 agreement is full of wisdom also. It says, and I think 342 subsection 1 has a leeway out of this. And that's why we term this the Melanesian consensus, Melanesian wisdom, Melanesian agreement must take precedence. We will not rise up one morning and Bougainville is no more, PNG is no more. We perpetually stuck here forever until Jesus comes. And we will have to deal with this issue one way or another. It's the serious most issue facing us. While Section 2 of our Constitution defines the sovereignty we have today, whilst we can't ignore that lives have been lost on both sides, and more so on Bougainville, this Parliament is faced with this task to deal with this issue. All of you, when the moment arrives, you will decide to vote in the affirmative or vote in the negative. But whatever the result of the vote is, I will be soon announcing from government and from Pangu Party policy perspective the way we would propose this one. And it is found in the spirit of Section 342 subsection 1. There's a provision for post-referendum consultation. That provision has no sunset clause. We could find a next phase. If this Parliament votes and we grant them full independence, there will still be a next phase. If this Parliament votes and says no to independence, there will still be a next phase. We just can't ignore the fact that 97.7% of Bougainvilleans have voted for nothing less than self-determination labeled political independence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Vivek, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker Loluk Savelo. People of Vivek. Question no kat believe me, me like directing ko good bla Minister of Works and Highways regarding big bla bagarap ikama bla road blo me lo work lo East Coast, West Coast na especially road ilidi konsel one bla important institution blo me bla moy barracks lo work aste solwara itaiti masol blem na ikamantap kam I demichim road blo me bla straight. So that road is now impassable. One kind of same long warm memorial site where Japan been surrendered law Allied forces law 1942. This two road and be impassable now. All people blow me love is some island. Me understand no some warm road them responsibility blow provincial government na national district. But at this point of time you may not got sufficient fund log. Put him go law. Walking star road long warm. Osem na asking blomi go lo good bla Minister of Works and Highways. He got some emergency funds stop. Ina blame look na one time department blame put him come down na you make an starting walk long back road. As the good bla President blomi lo work roll and kisimol youths now start clearing back road from Saurin from Moim. We go sem go na tuktak panimol na now morning will start walking or clearing people bus. So that you can put your machine gun straight in the alternate route, blow soldiers from me, a family blow, or can you see the road go come? I'm Tasol, legally so plus Kim Blomi, Golo, good blah, Minister Blow, Works and Highways. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker.
Mr. for Works.
Kami talk, thank you long. Good luck question, very important question. You come long, member Blamilo Wiwek. And as I highlighted yesterday, the country is, and the global community is experiencing unprecedented weather patterns. And particularly in our coastal areas, Nami recognize him, this la challenge or community blame antaplo wiwek right across the country, but more importantly, you highlighted what had happened, what is happening right now. So me can assure you, na people blow wiwek, our Good Works Secretary is online. Na mipla by Painim Liglik one canal long help him fixing this back road and get the roads in order for our people to be back into normalcy. So you have my assurance, Honourable Member.
We have a supplementary. Member for Day, what is your supplementary?
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. Supplementary blow igolo a supporting question blow member blow we work, and I have similar situation. Triple bridge blow was out, and my question is we looking for some
Honourable Member for Day, your supplementary looking some nupla asking. So I think you should not finish, so me can learn you law. You can ask him, Golo Minister.
Question blow me I'm golo emergency funds. Member blow we ask him, so me ask him related to that, whether there's emergency funds. What me realize him, the emergency funds are kept here at the Department of Works, and he got all provincial works department is staff, no one province, and Western Islands we have a provincial works department, and Sample Road in Bagram, all national roads, but them go through all district. Now instead of he got Sample Plomi one kind, and the engineers there on the ground only working on submissions, and then they have to come down to Moresby in order to submit, and then there's a process here that takes some months or weeks, this like kind. So my question or my supplementary is, he got all roadway or emergency funds can be packed at the provinces. So AC long all provincial works managers have access to those funds, and then they can quickly step in, because sample road on main access here. Now time in Bagrab time we have to wait for 3 to 4 months. Like in my case, it's about 3 months and we're still waiting. And engineer to go on submission come law, works slow yeah, na me wait yet. So and then the district funds are insufficient to fix all this like an old roadway. You have bridges being washed away, culverts being washed away, this like and so. Me like so whether emergency funds only can you got some available all provinces too or no moki go isi. No, so I am supplementary or no block question, but you can put him.
Mr. Minister.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. Namitok, thank you. Long good luck question to you. Come long member blame long day open. Again, on behalf of my people of Bougainville, I want to congratulate you on your elevation and the mandate the people have given and trusted in you. Honourable Member M, good luck question. And there is emergency funds. The emergency funds only apply when there is an actual state of emergency. But having considered your question, with the work that happens continuously around our country with all our departments, and I say this not only for the Works Department, but for many of our work in government. Today, the use of ICT is more important for us than ever. So, for example, when the high tides eroded the roads up in Moen Barracks, immediately the works manager was able to get live coverage of what was transpiring at that very time and been able to send through, obviously through WhatsApp, through our social media platform. So in terms of getting our managers in our respective provinces responding immediately to emergency or of such, there are no untimely feedback. And so as soon as there is feedback from our provinces, then the department are able to then provide the immediate and appropriate support back to our districts or provinces. But going back to your question, there are emergency funds, and as I highlighted through the SOE, but in any case, this sort of challenges that we're facing with our weather pattern is something that we have provided contingency in supporting and looking at those challenges that is affecting our roads and bridges. Thank you, Assistant Speaker.
Governor for Western Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Question below me now, let me ask him, Minister Plo, please, Member Blong, Kombiam Hambum, the Minister Plo, please, Honorable John Pundari. Before let me ask him question below me, me like talk, thank you long our people all day, electing Honorable Desmond Keeper, Paul Keeper. Now all people on New Island, electing Honorable Byron Chen, Governor of New Island. Now to me like look save long Honorable Mugua Dilo, Member of Kerwaki Gembog, when him court na come back. Mr.
Governor.
Just for clarification, Assistant Speaker.
Opposition Leader, your point of order. What is your point of order?
Just for clarification for the hand side, it's the member for Kundiawa Gembog.
Sorry, Opposition Leader, you can give your point of order. Governor, you can resume your seat. Opposition Leader can give point of order.
Assistant Speaker, lo good talk Governor, member of Kundiawa Gembog. Naste Deputy Speaker been making one lilik talk. You can take note too. Thank you, Assistant Speaker.
Thank you, Law.
You know, the Governor, time CI looks avelo, pasi kam long, Parliament now na, emi talk out of some member I come Simsian now by me announce him of law. Thank you. Governor, you can make him ask him you.
Mr. Speaker, me talk sorry long this la. Na me talk thank you long opposition leader law corrected me. Question below me now, me like ask him, Police Minister, me play looking it's like country now, you me looking Ghana and give me a big problem. Now that's all you me talk Bougainville and planting money die because Logan. Natu lo Highlands, mi play ikat. Big la problem lo guns na yumi lugum lo henga. Olenga, Governor Blenga, staff or leaders Blenga. Me like to thank you lo yupla because me looking plenty all powerful gun. All anger is returning, I mean, giving Quebec lo government all illegal firearms. Now, I think I'm one big breakthrough blood la country. Now, especially Yumi lo Highlands, Yumi 7 lo province and Tablo Highlands, gun is a give me big heavy. And say, some life lo plenty old man, causing plenty destruction. Gun am one big bureau lo Yumi lo country now. The Highlands. So question blow me, me like asking police minister, how you negotiate now you will gun back? Provincial government he go pass law this law, or police minister want the police department he go pass. Me like asking. Was there some form of payment done by government or by police department or hang from the government? You make it clear because all these like guns now, the Kokam, Lo Highlands, or Iron Man section round, plenty time, all ishim lagan, plenty time, all ishim long. Joaka, Lo Chimbu, Lo Southern Islands, Ella, Hanger. Long guns that causing big destruction long. Me you like back, so me like to thank you through law police commissioner, police department, na minister of police, na to governor blow hang and our leaders. Thank you.
Deputy Opposition Leader, what your point to
Mr. Speaker, it's 2 minutes to the end of the question time. Wonder if the good governor can seek leave of the House to extend question time again. Or if I may ask an extension to allow the good minister to answer the question and also perhaps I just did. If I move a motion to extend question time.
Deputy Opposition Leader, your point of order is out of order. Governor, your question.
Question. You mean you see some money or no got? Not to all this like gun you mix him back. You may destroy him or you call a police department or call one him up. You may must have a. Because this law firearm military issued firearms. Now no the firearm called unblown man, so you may need to have a too. Thank you.
Mr. Police Minister.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, me like talk thank you long. All good block question come long. Good block governor long Western Islands. Long illegal guns na. Gun amnesty, me got law country now. Gun amnesty, law country blow you me and by Rani going up September 2016, Independence Day blow you me, when we should all stand together and declare Papua New Guinea as an illegal gun-free country. Mr. Assistant Speaker, long answering a question long governor's threat. Yes, policy block government now long buying back all illegal gun inside long country. But it's a buyback arrangement and by long help him or line long yumi long plus lo come up him good plus in down long all in sustainable ways. Maybe commerce, SMEs, in areas of agriculture, maybe we'll support him education too.
plenty all line blow me inside long country blow me. Only stop engage him only long all this like in passing one time illegal gun because they are disengaged and we need to engage them one way or the other. And initiative of the Marabe Rosso government long buying back all illegal gun. Ting emi stabolsen. Ting emi stabolsen. Now, Mr. Speaker, right now in the amnesty period, I am sure that the Commissioner of Police, Emma Salim Operational Order, Igo Pinislong, provincial police commanders right throughout the country, to whom all the illegal guns will have to be surrendered to and stored away for destruction. For destruction. When I'm something I surrendered, Emba blong Amina. Police again long use him even if they are military issued firearms or police issued firearms for that matter. Whatever that is surrendered and collected by our provincial police commanders will be stored away for destruction. In terms of payment, the present time it is all about data collection on all those that are surrendering their weapons, names of individuals or clans, or name belong one family, only get gun, now only surrendering this illegal weapon, details belong all, details belong gun. Now, whenever only participate in the schemes of education or sustainable investment belong one clan, communities belong all, or families for that matter. So time you got all this data finished now. Me by kissing submission you go along cabinet and government will allocate the money and we will deposit straight to the accounts of those that have surrendered their weapons for schemes of whatever that they want to do in their communities and in their districts for that matter. Mr. Speaker, as we are progressing with this amnesty period and the surrender of illegal weapons, the government under the Prime Minister's direction and with the good wisdom of the National Executive Council, we're also reviewing our laws insofar as firearms are concerned in the country. We're also reviewing the laws insofar as offensive weapons are concerned that harm our society and the peace and the order that you may order like him inside law this country. And I am pleased to inform Parliament that plenty law this good law work he come up in his me like talk thank you long good law Attorney General blo mibla law work boom long hen and some law good law review come up in his he go long office long him as of this morning. And as we progress, hopefully if everything goes well, in the next sitting of Parliament, we should be able to introduce those laws. Mr. Speaker, he got life imprisonment belong, who said he got illegal guns now. That is the law. That is the law, but this man or Mary save salim this la ganya, when him now and punishment belong in. What is the penalty now by you me imposing belong in? Now money save baim. Money save baim this la ganya. When him now penalty belong him. Now money save baim na him save pain him hard lo karemi go lo man by using gun. Defense na police for that matter. Even suppose all defense na police too wagim karangina. Na stealing gun. Na munitions na selling. One him penalty now belong all. Insofar as the firearm act is concerned. Man by using this gun na pain him die belong in lo battlefield ya. Na using this gun lo wagim all kind crime ya. Law is the finish long by pain him life sentence belong in. So some law this law all kind details there. Me bla walk law look again long firearms act. And at the same time too, the legal license issued firearms in the country. Plenty of citizens will you mean inside the country. Licensed firearms here. All high powered ones too here. Do we allow them to be licensed to use high-powered weapons, apart from just handguns, for that matter. These are some of the things that I think we need to critically think things through and work things through with the amendments and all the reviews that we are now undertaking under the Firearms Act. So me look forward long having more discussions when the Yubla time Yubla come through long cabinet, come lo government caucus, me like Sindan want more opposition too long. Caucus bla Yubla lo discussing this bla because this is very, very important. And Mr. Assistant Speaker, gun make him na all sick, gun make him na all school, gun make him na plenty all public properties bla yumi inside lo country, especially lo region na province me come long any walk lo bagarab na fire. This la illegal gun ya. I'm not one blood good blood something law. House line na all family na. One all citizens blood you me law all him na keep him. Now I agree. Na me like to clear also. Me like to clear also. This la kind person blong all him illegal gun na make him number there. Or something where criminal in nature na. Or something where you mean not like him long end na, you mean like flush him all out na. Na make him sure that they face the full brunt of the law long country below you me. And plenty time you me try him long address him this blah. With my full support as Minister for Police right now. And you me organize leaders of this country. He got plenty of levy too, so we come lo this la. Now this la scheme of buy back here. No one bla good bla kind feeling na thinking where me as police minister, me like walk him na you me walk him. No you mean also you me support him this la the criminal law who said money me buy him this la gun or buy him na give him or who said money me use him this la gun. Man, no one bla nice bla feeling here. But you know, this la gun amnesty and work law come up now here. Please, all citizens and people bla me bla this bla country here. You bla must survey. You bla must survey. This is the only period and time. Grace and me come la you bla now. One is something you bla all him na make him you know one bla good la something you bla make him. Harem na make him number na cause him all kind crime inside of this la country here. Na one block good la something you block walking. Enough now. Enough now. Me bla you know come lo buy him big all this la gun long approve him all this la kind criminal passing na all that kind something you block walking on the illegal gun. We have had enough. And this is the only time. You surrender or you face the full brunt of the law. You must surrender and you must free him country, but you want an illegal gun inside of this country. Illegal gun, no susa blow you. No mama blow you. You mean anta Long Islands me come long in here. Instead of the illegal gun protecting someone, me plus of provide him security again or is the illegal gun for fear of someone coming and stealing it. Illegal gun make him na school blow me come down. Illegal gun make him na health center blow me come down. Illegal gun make him na primary na high school blow me come down. If it wasn't for illegal gun, post-elections, police station blow me by sanabiyet. Police accommodations by stabiyet. Health centers by stabiyet. One bla high school by stabiyet. Two bla primary school by stabiyet. And we lost everything due to illegal guns. Going to the elections now. All like winning election want an illegal gun. Proliferation of firearms must stop. Must stop together with the hard reviews of the law that Mibla Wakimia and Atam Mibla Karim come na pass him. You may not can rouse him illegal gun tasol. Bush knife too must not can come to public place na place by election. Catabel 2 must not can come, no public places. Harmful weapons, Mibla must talk, no what now. And I am so glad that we have developed a offensive weapons act that is going to come to Parliament. So we address all this together. Now the city of Port Moresby, all good policemen, me go now, all rousing all this offensive weapons. But I am telling you, now all rousing, beyond all pining you all busnat, you all any offensive weapons along any public place, you could find yourself in prison for 10 years. Or a 50,000 kina fine. Enough now, enough. All over the country, all policemen you blast up, check him over the car, now rouse him over the offensive weapons. As a message to all our citizens that in the next sitting of Parliament, this law is coming. And this time, if they find you at a marketplace or a bus stop, one them up, you carry offensive weapons. Nubla law by kissing you. You know, nablo illegal gun, that's all. Offensive weapons too want them. We have had enough of crime in this country. It's time for peace. This is a beautiful country. We are of a wonderful people. The few of us in our societies, in our cities, in our communities, wherever we are, we arm ourselves with these offensive weapons and illegal guns and harm our community, causing all this nonsense. The time has come for us to stop. And this Parliament must stand together. Provincial governments must stand together. All our presidents and ward councillors must stand together and work together with one voice against all these offensive weapons and especially illegal guns in our country. Mikam lo nabla question blong good bla governor I am talk also responsibility bla police or provincial government. It is all of our responsibility. It is all of our responsibility. The responsibility of my PPC is basically to collect all those illegal guns that are surrounded. But insofar as awareness, insofar as raising the voice, insofar as the collaborative, the cooperation that we need to have together in this exercise, we must work together in unison. We must work together in unison. But let me inform the country. Let me inform the country. After the 16th of September, rewards will continue for information. And this time, it won't be for that illegal gun. The reward will be for the informant. The reward will be for the informant. Samblala Yumila Island say, Mr. Maritim Blandi Mary. You like isim nubla meri na you lusim all bla meri blow you all bla meri blow you become la police na talking me blows them. Man bla me blow I got gun. 30,000 kinala M16 blow you ya and Mary blow you by kisim. Na police by locking you na Mary blow you by maritim 1 plus with 16. No, I mean okay man. Some blow councillors blow in Milo Islands region, me blow win him council na come up president na leader because blow gun blow me blow. You no surrender him gun blow you. Council Lucia by report him you. Report blow this la gun ya and by go law this la council Lucia and report longen na. You go Karabus time. This la loose mania by kissing place blow you na Mary blow you want them. Emi no funny. Emina fani papa ni gini blare mina blo pen blo yumi long all get all offensive weapons na illegal guns. This Parliament is going to be serious in addressing offensive weapons and illegal guns. This country, peace-loving people, Mikola Engaya, time is up long launching this national gun amnesty. First thing me look him long, I belong all get a mama lo this la time. I belong all get a mama. I saw tears. I saw tears on their faces. Time me looking over the young black girl come close to Nasana block grandstand there. Me looking tears na me talk. Lewa blo me bro. And all I could say, At the start of my speech was to say that I thank God because you all got a mamaya, you prayer, God and harem prayer, and today we stand together to declare this gun amnesty on illegal guns. And today, I stand here on the floor of this parliament and I appeal. And I appeal to all of you leaders sitting here in this chamber. All the members of parliament, all governors, and I appeal to all the presidents. I appeal to all the ward councillors, leaders across this nation. I appeal to all churches, volunteers. I appeal to all elites and businessmen. I appeal to the ones that have been buying arms and supplying. I appeal to every one of us and every peace-loving citizen in this country. If you are a patriotic Papua New Guinean, suppose you say, love him country below you. Suppose you believe us in Papua New Guinea is a tourist destination and it's got great assets of tourism. If you believe that this country is a beautiful country and a wonderful country, if you believe that this country can be a country that enjoys peace and comfort, I appeal to every one of us to raise this voice together wherever you are, given the breadth and the length of this country, to raise our voice as one and make illegal guns our #1 enemy, and let us get rid of it. Let's get rid of it for the love of our country, for the love of our future generations. Thank you.
Honourable members, question time, you may have some time long finish. Honourable Minister, elect talk whenever you at past them. You take your seat past them, me make your own statement, and me allow you. All honourable members of Parliament, me now bakandi mon bla tok ya, and morai kam lo Supreme Court play me. So ba mi kandim lo tok place ali right him lo ngana. So if la put him out good na me kandim. Honourable members, I present the order of the Supreme Court SER number 12 of 2024 between Mr. Mugua Dilu, applicant, and Mr. William Onglo, first respondent, and the Electoral Commission of Papua New Guinea, second respondent, entered and ordered on 17 March 2026 that 1. The application for review of the decision of the National Court of 6 June 2024 is upheld in part. 2. The order declaring the election of the application as null and void is quashed forthwith. 3. The order directing the second respondent to consider applying the electronic voting system in the recount of votes within 6 months of the order is quashed forthwith. 4. After making the decision on the use of electronic voting system, the order directing the second respondent to provide a detailed strategic implementation plan for the system with key milestones to be achieved with the relevant time frame to commence in September 2024 and ending September 2026 is quashed forthwith. 5th, pursuant to the preceding 2 orders, the order directing the second respondent to inform the national government in a submission to provide funding in the national budget for 2025 by 5th October 2024 is quashed forthwith. 6th, after receiving the submission from the second respondent, the order directing the national government to give priority to fund the second respondent submission and for the second respondent to report back to the National Court at the end of August, September and October 2024 in relation to the compliance of orders is quashed forthwith. 7. Pursuant to Section 212(1)(d) of the Organic Law, there shall be a recount of votes cast for the Kundiawa-Gembog open electorate in the 2022 general elections. 8. The second respondent shall conduct the recount of votes from eliminations 19, 20, 21, and 22 of candidates Samuel Kupo, Peter Kama, Stanley N. Alphonse, and Tobias Kulang. 9. The second respondent and its officials shall comprise of officials from outside Simbu and shall conduct the recount of votes under the supervision of the Registrar of the National Court or his delegate. 10. The recount of votes shall be conducted in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province, in order to avoid the circumstances encountered in the last election. 11. The Registrar of the National Court or his delegate shall present a report of the recount of votes duly certified by the returning officer of the recount back to the National Court within 7 days after the completion of the recount of votes. 12. The applicant shall pay the National Court's cost of the respondent to be taxed if not agreed. 13. The National Court security deposit of 5,000 kina held in the National Court trust account shall be paid to the first respondent forthwith. 14. The respondent shall pay the Supreme Court's cost of the application to be taxed if not agreed. And 15. The Supreme Court security deposit of 5,000 held in the National Court trust account shall be paid to the applicant forthwith. 16. Time for entry of this order shall be abridged to the date of settlement by the registrar, which shall take place forthwith. Court order ikam long Supreme Court. Now all sem the sol na clerk you black and admit the member company sa can sim siap lo now the parliament. Honorable Minister of Provincial Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would rise to seek leave of the chair to respond to a series of important questions asked by the Governor of Oro, the Honorable Gary Jufa, relating to provincial government reforms in PNG.
Leave granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, let me commend and thank the Honorable Governor for the series of important questions that he asked yesterday. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to appreciate the concerted collective efforts of 21 governors for raising this matter of national importance for discussion, first at the conference in 2023 and recommended together with 29 other resolutions for implementation. Before I address each question individually, I wish to lay before this House a substantive backdrop, a historical and contextual framework without which any discussion of current reform efforts would be incomplete and potentially misleading. But before I do that, let me step back and acknowledge the governments in the past, the contributions of our governments since 1995 reforms up until recently, and today, the good work our government is doing in terms of delivering services, growing economy, and ensuring that our people are rich in different parts of Papua New Guinea. But the question still remains, have we done enough, or are we doing enough? Mr. Speaker, the backdrop to why provincial government reform is necessary. Mr. Speaker, Papua New Guinea is a nation of extraordinary complexity. We are a country of 800 different languages, 22 provinces, 374 LLGs, 6,912 wards, vast geographical barriers, deeply entrenched cultural differences, and profoundly uneven development. The question of how state organizes itself to govern these complexities, how power is distributed between
Port Moresby and Feathers Village in Western Province, or Star Mountain, or remote islands in Manus, New Island, Milne Bay, or even autonomous region. It's not merely an administrative question. It is a question that deeply cuts into the heart of our national identity, our social contracts, and our very sovereignty as people. Mr. Speaker, the history of provincial governance in Papua New Guinea is a history of pendulum swings. Since independence in 1975, this nation has oscillated between centralization and decentralization, between empowering the provinces, reining them back in, between trusting local leaders and overriding them with national authorities. Each swing has left scars. Each swing has also delivered lessons. It is from these lessons that current reform movement draws its energy and its urgency. Mr. Speaker, when Papua New Guinea became independent, a founding fathers recognized that highly centralized unitary state would not adequately serve the population so diverse and so scattered. The Organic Law and Provincial Government of 1977 established a system of elected provincial governments with their own legislatures, premiers, and executive arms. Provinces have real legislative power over a range of matters. They receive unconditional block grants from national government, and they were expected to be genuine partners in national development. For all its imperfections, this system represented a sincere attempt to bring government closer to our people. By the late 1980s, however, the system was under severe strain. Allegations of financial mismanagement were widespread. Audit report described chaotic accounting, unretired public monies, and provincial budget that bore little relationship to actual expenditures. Political conflicts between provincial premiers and their national parliamentary counterparts created governance paralysis in several provinces. Mr. Speaker, the Organic Law on Provincial Government and Local Level Government of 1995, commonly referred to as 1995 Organic Law, represent a fundamental restructuring of provincial government system. It altered the structure, integrating national members of parliament into provincial leadership and reshaping the financial and administrative arrangements between national governments, provinces, and local level governments. The separately elected provincial premiers or system was abolished. Block grants were replaced with functional grants tied to specific sectors. The legislative power of provincial governments was significantly curtailed. Local level governments were elevated to status that simultaneously given responsibility, but they lacked the capacity to carry out. Mr. Speaker, the stated rationale for 1995 reform was accountability, efficiency, and elimination of duplication between national and provincial political structures. The reality, as 3 decades of evidence now make painfully clear, by most objective measures, maternal mortality rates, school enrollment, road conditions, health facilities functionality, outcomes in many provinces today are worse than they were in the 1980s. In 1995, reforms did not resolve the problems of provincial governance. They merely reconfigured. And in doing so, they stripped provinces of every tools: financial autonomy, legislative authority, and dedicated executive leadership. that they would need to address those problems themselves. Mr. Speaker, it is against this backdrop that current reform agenda must be understood. The call for provincial reforms are not new. They have been raised consistently by every sector of community, including public servants, politicians, even ourselves on the floor of Parliament, who have watched the promise of decentralization go unfulfilled in the last 30 years. While those reforms aim to improve coordination and accountability, over time many stakeholders, the governors, provincial administrators, local level governments and communities have consistently raised concerns about service delivery gaps, physical constraints, and clarity of functions across the three-tier governments. As a result, the call for reform has grown louder across the country. Mr. Speaker, at 2023 Governors' Conference held in Leh, the governors collectively approved 30 resolutions for implementation aimed at strengthening provincial governance and improving service delivery. One key resolution directed the review of existing literature, previous reform reports, relevant legislation relating to decentralization, with the intention of identifying gaps and proposing options for reform provincial government system. Mr. Speaker, in response to these concerns, a parliamentary bipartisan committee was established to specifically examine decentralization in Papua New Guinea. The committee undertook consultation and produced a report with recommendations aimed at strengthening the provincial government system, improving service delivery at subnational levels. My department has been working closely with bipartisan committee and supporting this review process. Mr. Speaker, the report of Parliamentary Committee was presented to 2025 Governors' Conference, where it was unanimously accepted by governors. The outcomes and the recommendations have been incorporated into Cabinet submission and forwarded to National Executive Council, and I am not at liberty to discuss what is now before Cabinet. Mr. Speaker, having provided the context, I will now return to address very briefly some of the questions asked by Honourable Governor for oral. Mr. Speaker, question 1 and 2 relates to outcome of 2025 Provincial Administrators Conference held in Port Moresby on the 28th of August 2025, which preceded Governors' Conference the next day. Primary outcome was resoundingly and unambiguously consensus among provincial governors that the current provincial government system structurally is dysfunctional. They discussed in length the bipartisan committee's report, agreed in totality, and endorsed it for presentation to governors the next day. In response to question 2, the blueprint and NEC submission timeline, Mr. Speaker, the Chief Secretary to the government was correct in characterizing the outcomes of 2025 conference as blueprint. A blueprint is not a finished building or a product. It is a precise, detailed, binding document that describes what the finished building or product must look like and provides the specification needed to construct it. That is exactly the status of conference outcomes. They represent not vague aspiration but specific, technically grounded framework for reforms. My department has condensed the blueprint into form of formal cabinet submission that is now before NEC for its deliberation and directions. In response to question 3, series of 30 resolutions from 2023 Governors Conference. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Governor has asked me to table a detailed status report on each of the 30 resolutions passed at 2023 Governors Conference. In the interest of time, I will circulate to all members the matrix of resolutions implemented and outstanding for your information. However, for 30 resolutions, 14 resolutions have been fully implemented. Notable ones are: 1. Power to appoint provincial administrators from NEC to PEC. 2. Provincial health authorities, PHA, to jointly report to provincial administration and National Department of Health. 3. PSIP, DSIP, LLG SIP, Ward SIP made mandatory by law. 4. LLG Special Purpose Authorities, or SPAs, accountability and governance process strengthened by removal of board members being signatories to SP accounts and constitution that has been standardized. 5. Clear demarcation of functional responsibilities between levels of governments and DDAs. 6. LLG election to be conducted 30 months after the national general election, and we started that process last year. And 7. Provincial and district roads transferred to provinces, etc., etc. Mr. Speaker, remaining 16 resolutions are very difficult to implement. These functions are legislated and sit under the departments and agencies who are resisting transfers, but we are in discussion. Details will be presented this year at the Governors' Conference. Question 4, proposed new provincial government system. Mr. Speaker, a report presented to the Governors' Conference outlines options for reforms for provincial government system and examines structural, administrative and fiscal arrangement under current organic law on provincial and local level government. However, as the recommendation form part of Cabinet submission currently before NEC, it will be premature for me to disclose or preempt NEC's decision. However, what can be stated is that review focuses on strengthening governance arrangement, improving coordination between national, provincial and local level governments, and enhancing service delivery across the country. Question 5, decentralization and service delivery. Mr. Speaker, one of the central issues raised during the consultation and discussion with provincial administrators and governors is the need to ensure that decentralization is accompanied by adequate financial, administrative, and human resources. There is a strong consensus that responsibilities transferred to provinces must be matched with appropriate funding, institutional capacity, that provinces can effectively deliver services in the critical sectors such as health, education, infrastructure, law and order, so on and so forth. The specific policy mechanism addressing this matter form part of Cabinet submission currently before NEC. Question 6, block grants and financial autonomy. Mr. Speaker, governors and provincial leaders have consistently expressed need for greater financial flexibility for provinces, including discussions around block grant arrangement. These views were captured during the consultation and reflected in the review process. Question 7, amendments to IGRFA Act. Mr. Speaker, the review of Intergovernment Relation Finance Arrangement, or IGRFA Act, is currently underway with view to amending relevant provisions to strengthening the physical framework governing relations between national government and subnational governments. This review is examining how provinces can be granted greater discretions over their internal revenue and grant allocations, consistent with the broader objective of strengthening decentralization and improving service delivery. Mr. Speaker, the government remains committed to this cause, while ensuring that any reforms to financial arrangement maintain strong standards of accountability, transparency, and effective financial management across all levels of government. Question 8, consideration of pre-1995 elements. Mr. Speaker, during the consultation, there has been discussions among provincial leaders regarding lessons from the pre-1995 provincial government reforms, particularly in relation to provincial autonomy and legislative autonomy. The review process has considered this historical experience to identify useful lessons for strengthening governance and service delivery under the current decentralized framework. The extent to which element may be informed in the future reforms remains subject to NEC decision. Question 9, possible reintroduction of provincial or premier system. Mr. Speaker, the proposal to reintroduce a separate elected provincial premier has been raised by some provincial leaders during the consultation on the governance reforms. This proposal formed part of the broader discussion on possible governance structures. However, the government cannot preempt NEC deliberation on such institutional matters until Cabinet submission has been properly considered. Question 10, implementation and legislative roadmap. Mr. Speaker, reforms to organic law and provincial and local government involve significant constitutional and institutional consideration and require careful consultation and consensus. At present, the Cabinet submission incorporating outcomes of Governors' Conference, the report of Parliamentary Bipartisan Committee, and consultation supported by provincial and local level department is before the National Executive Council. Once NEC has deliberated and provided policy direction, the government will then determine the appropriate legislative pathway, including whether amendments to organic law could be brought before the Parliament. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I have spoken at length to try to provide some answers to Governor Oro, the Honourable Gary Jufa's questions, because the subject demands it. Provincial governance reform in Papua New Guinea is not a bureaucratic exercise in restructuring. It is a matter of whether the state can genuinely deliver onto its citizens. Whether a child born in rural village has access to health services, whether a child can access quality education, whether a road that connects communities to markets and services are maintained, and whether institutional government are responsive to the people they meant to serve. 3 decades of evidence suggests to us that current system is not delivering on those obligations. The message from across the country, from governors, provincial administrators, local level governments, business houses, and community is clear. There is a strong call to review, strengthen the provincial government system in order to improve governance and service delivery. The government is carefully considering these issues through proper NEC process, and this House will be informed the next step once the National Executive Council has made its deliberations. Mr. Speaker, let me thank each and every one of you for listening to this very lengthy presentation. God bless us all. God bless Papua New Guinea.
Dealer of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I ask leave of Parliament to move a motion without notice.
Leave granted. Leave granted, Mr. Minister. Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I move that summons of the standing orders be suspended as would prevent notices number 167, 168 and 204, government business, and notice number 199, private business, being called on forthwith.
Question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Mr. Clerk.
Notice number 167, Minister for Trade and International Investment.
Minister for Trade and International Investment.
Mr. Speaker, I present the Anti-Dumping and Countervailing Measures Bill 2025.
Mr. Clerk.
First reading. A bill for an act A to give effect in Papua New Guinea 1 to the provisions of Article Roman 6 and Roman 16 of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade 1994, and 2 to the Agreement on the implementation of Article Roman 6 of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, and 3 to the Agreement on Subsidies and Countervailing Measures. B, to implement the national trade policy of Papua New Guinea, which establishes mechanisms and procedures to curb dumping or subsidies that are causing or threatening to cause material injury to the domestic industry of like products, or materially retarding the establishment of such an industry to be counteracted. And C, to protect the interests of Papua New Guinea by preserving domestic production, jobs, investment, and wealth creation. And D, to foster the competitiveness and modernization of Papua New Guinea's industry, and to maintain a stable environment for businesses and fair competition, and for related purposes.
Mr. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill now be read a second time.
Mr. Minister, you may make your speech.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm humbled by this opportunity to present to this Honourable House 2 bills on trade defence measures. The first time this country will have such legislation after 50 years. The first is called the Anti-Dumping and Countervailing Measures Bill 2026, to be followed by the second, which is the Safeguard Measures Bill 2026. Mr. Speaker, the 2 bills are complementary in nature and are commonly referred as trade defence measures in the area of international trade. Both bills will be an important addition to our existing international trade, the policy tools to protect and steer our economy amidst the uncertain global trading environment we live in today. Mr. Speaker, before I go on with the rest of my statement, let me, for the sake of Parliament, just explain that these bills are about unfair trade practices which will affect our manufacturing sector in Papua New Guinea. The first issue is dumping that this Act will now deal with, or bill will deal with. Dumping is when goods from other countries arrive and are sold very, very cheaply. For example, if a biscuit is sold here at 3 kina by our local manufacturing industry, and we have an import where the biscuit is sold here at 1 kina 50. This is called dumping. And then you investigate the country that's exporting the biscuit, and you find in their own country they sell the same biscuit for 3 kina. This is going to harm our industry and could even lead to the closure of our manufacturing sector. This is what we call dumping. Very cheap imports. And imports that arrive, our manufacturing sector can't compete because the prices are even lower than our cost to produce in Papua New Guinea. When we talk about countervailing measures, we are talking about countries subsidizing their industries to export to this country at a lower cost than we can manufacture. For example, they give fuel subsidies. And safeguard measures is talking about how do we protect local industries when we have a major influx of one particular product that our manufacturing sector can't deal with. It's low cost and large volumes are coming into the country. Mr. Speaker, the multilateral nature of the global trading environment has accelerated the process of economic integration. As a responsible government, the Marabe Rosso government is doing everything we can to support our local industries and SMEs to participate in global supply chains, as well as attract more investments, especially into our economic zones, to encourage downstream processing and value adding of our resources. As a country dependent on international trade, we cannot avoid being exposed to the challenges of the global trading environment. As such, it is important that trade in which we participate in must be fair and equitable. Mr. Speaker, an open economy like ours brings with it opportunities and challenges to our SMEs and local industries. One of our main challenges is how to maintain an open, fair, and equitable trade investment regime, while at the same time working to make sure that the interests of our local industries, workers and consumers is protected from unfair trade practices that can cause injury to our infant and domestic industries, resulting in closure of businesses, loss of jobs and revenue. Mr. Speaker, in line with this, I'm happy to present to this Honourable House, firstly, the Anti-Dumping and Countervailing Measures Bill 2026 for discussion and adoption to deal with what I have mentioned. Mr. Speaker, several claims have been made by our local manufacturing industries that foreign suppliers are now selling products much cheaper in PNG than our own market scale.
Mr. Minister, we have a point of order. Honourable member, what's your point of order?
But since this notice was given on the 3rd of September 2025, we don't have copies. So perhaps this is an issue, Speaker, yourself has to address. We keep on raising these issues. Maybe we should have an internet system So we just dial up the proposed bill, and all of us have it in front of us. So we are just listening to the speech, and the bill is not with us because it was delivered in September 2025. Thank you.
Honourable Member Blabao, I think your point of order is in order. And you talk me through. Bill, you me circulated on 2nd of September last year. Na passing by you me apply the time you me put your paper na isab na time you me come lo kind time also. Time minister like presenting bill you me find him hard lo understand him laga. So me accept him this la point of order na me just like to also by minister may continue his presentation of the bill. But all workman of parliament to make sure that time bill will come to floor. The next time the members should have it before the bill comes in. You must make sure this like come or informing all members that this bill is coming in this time, so that they know what the minister is presenting. Bill. But for now, I will allow the minister to present the bill. Mr. Minister, you may continue your bill presentation.
Mr. Speaker, several claims have been made by our local manufacturing industries that foreign suppliers were selling products at prices much lower than their cost of production. This practice is commonly referred to as dumping, where the intent of the foreign supplier is to remove competition by driving down prices with the overall objective of capturing market share and achieving a monopoly status in our domestic economy. We have one of our homegrown and successful local manufacturing firm recently conceding to the effect of international price discrimination and is currently struggling to survive. I am referring to the Lay Biscuits company. Like Lay Biscuit, many of our small manufacturing and local industries are struggling to compete with the influx and surge of competitive products in large volumes. Mr. Speaker, therefore, as a responsible government and under my ministry, we are taking firm action to deal with these challenges and stress that are affecting the domestic manufacturing industry. Mr. Speaker, the issue of dumping in this connection is not to do with standards, health or biosecurity. Dumping here refers to a situation where a foreign manufacturer exports or a PNG importer sells a product in PNG at a price much lower than normal prices on our shelves, compared to the original market, with an injuring effect to the local producer of a similar product. This situation is known as international price discrimination, which has a negative effect on our local industries and jobs. This can occur as a result of overproduction in the supplying market due to the companies being subsidized and therefore are sold at a cheaper price to get rid of them, with the consequential effect of creating an unfair and injurious impact on our local domestic industry. Mr. Speaker, with the above being said, it is my pleasure to introduce the first of the two bills intended to deal with the issues above. The bill is entitled Anti-Dumping and Countervailing Bill 2026. This bill will allow us to offset unfair and illegal subsidies granted on the imports that are entering our markets, making it harder for our domestic producers to compete with these products, which could result in local firms and businesses being pushed out of the market and thus affecting thousands of jobs and increasing unemployment in our country. Mr. Speaker, the anti-dumping and countervailing bill provides for our government to establish an investigative process to demonstrate that dumping or subsidization are occurring, to demonstrate that there is injury or likely threat of injury to our domestic industry, and to prove causation, which is to demonstrate that the unfair trade practice is the cause of injury. Mr. Speaker, the administrative aspects of the bill sets out procedures and the mechanism to determine the above substantive conditions, including establishing an investigation team of key technical experts from key agencies, collection of data and information, including physical inspection to confirm the injury, and finally, providing an outcome report to government with recommendations on what actions the government should take. Mr. Speaker, the adoption of this legislation will strengthen the functions and operations of the National Trade Act 2023 and support the implementation of our government's major economic policies, including supporting the National Trade Policy 2027 to 2032, the Special Economic Zone Policy, the Manufacturing Master Plan, and other strategic policy interventions to support grow the local economy through increased participation of our people in downstream processing and valuating of our resources, which are fully supported and promoted under my ministry. Mr. Speaker, the bill is consistent with our international trade commitments and best practice to deal with a potential threat or injury to local manufacturing industries and support SMEs and their development against unfair treatment from external competitors. Mr. Speaker, the anti-dumping and countervailing measures bill by itself will not be complete as it will require complementary legislation to implement it. As such, Mr. Speaker, with your consent, I will now proceed with the introduction of the second bill entitled Safeguard Measures Bill 2026. Mr. Speaker, the Safeguard Measures Bill 2026 complements the Anti-Dumping and Countervailing Bill 2026 by providing clear process and option for government to use through the use of tariffs and quotas under the Customs Act when there is an influx or an upsurge of imports that causes injury to our local industry or threatens to do so. Mr. Speaker, the Safeguard Measures Bill 2026 will set required conditions that need to be met through an investigative process. These conditions are: A, firstly, to demonstrate that there is indeed an influx of imports entering our markets, and secondly, to determine that there is injury or likely threat of injury to our domestic manufacturing sector. As such, Mr. Speaker, the Safeguard Measures Bill 2026 will set out procedures and the mechanisms to determine the above substantive conditions, which includes establishing an investigative team of key technical experts from key agencies, collect the relevant data and information, including the physical inspection to confirm the upstage in imports, the injury or the threat of injury, and finally, providing an outcome report with recommendations to the government for remedial action. Mr. Speaker, the Safeguard Measures Bill 2026 will set a clear process for the government to follow to address cases in a manner and practice consistent with our international trade commitments and obligations, including our trade commitment to the World Trade Organization under the UN and our existing trade agreements. Mr. Speaker, as a complementary legislation, the Safeguard Measures Bill 2026 is a critical tool in strengthening our overall trade policy posture. It is also an essential chapter in the trade agreements that we have entered into. Therefore, having it legislated makes it easier to progress some of our planned free trade agreements and comprehensive economic partnership agreements with other countries. With these comments, Mr. Speaker, I now comment both the Anti-Dumping and Countervailing Measures Bill 2026 and its complementary bill, the Safeguard Measures Bill 2026, to this Honourable House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is the question we now Honorable Governor, we have another opportunity for debate, so we will put a question. So the question be now put. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Mr. Clerk.
Second reading. A bill for an Act 8 to give effect in Papua New Guinea. 1, to the provisions of Article Roman 6 and Roman 16 of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade 1994, and 2, to the agreement on the implementations of Article Roman 6 of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, and 3, to the agreements on subsidies and countervailing measures. B, to implement the national trade policy of Papua New Guinea, which establishes mechanisms and procedures to curb dumping or subsidies that are causing or threatening to cause material injury to the domestic industry of like products or materially retarding the establishment of such an industry to be counteracted. And C, to protect the interests of Papua New Guinea by preserving domestic production, jobs, investment, and wealth creation. And D, to foster the competitiveness and modernization of Papua New Guinea's industry and to maintain a stable environment for business and fair competition and for related purposes.
Honourable members, I have to announce that I have received a message from His Excellency the Governor-General dated 9th September 2025, recommending the imposition of fees in accordance with Section 210 of the Constitution insofar as the bill relates to and provides for such imposition. Minister for Trade.
Mr. Speaker, I have leave of the Parliament to move the third reading forthwith.
Is leave granted? Leave granted. Mr. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill is now read a third time.
Honourable Governor Isivik.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me congratulate the Minister for bringing these two important bills. I think it goes without saying that most of us on this floor will support the bill simply because support for our manufacturing sector, even though small, and Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that we recognize that Papua New Guinea does not manufacture too many products. You've got biscuits, noodles, maybe paint, some plastics, and perhaps cement and tin fish and ox and palm, canned meat. So we have a very small manufacturing sector, Mr. Speaker. It's important that they be protected, and these laws will give effect to that. But I think what our manufacturers need more than just protection from dumping is they need cheaper inputs, Mr. Speaker. And by that I mean like they need reliable power. The good minister mentioned Lay Biscuit. If you talk to the owner, you will find that Ley Biscuit Company actually runs its own generators to produce its own power in Ley, our second largest city, so that they can make biscuits and noodles, Mr. Speaker. So the countries that are dumping here, for instance, Chinese manufacturing or Malaysian manufacturers, they don't have issues with power, Mr. Speaker. And not only that, their power is cheaper than ours. Now, they already have significant advantages when it comes to manufacturing in their own countries. And therefore, they have excess product that they can ship not just to our country, but to many other countries who have inefficient inputs into their production capacity, Mr. Speaker. Not only is our power expensive, we have expensive transport infrastructure, so our supply chains are very expensive, Mr. Speaker. So I'd like to urge the government and the minister to take a look at some of the other things that are making it difficult for our local manufacturers to not only compete, but perhaps if they can have excess production, they can also be exporting in the future, Mr. Speaker. So beyond just making the law, which I'm sure we will all be happy to pass, I certainly am happy to support the bill because I think it's important for our manufacturing sector. But I think beyond just the protection, I think we need to be looking at many of the other things that place significant challenges in front of our very small manufacturing sector, Mr. Speaker. And that is critical. Otherwise, the law that we are passing is simply tokenism. Even things like some of the inputs, if they are importing, for example, I think Prima is making sausages, and they import a lot of that from Australia. Now, if we have duty on those meats that they are bringing in to make sausages, then obviously that makes their production much more expensive. And given that they are targeted towards our local market, any such duties, any taxes and levies on the inputs, whether it be flour, whether it be shortening, whether it be meat imports that they need to put in, all of that gets passed to our people. And I think that's another thing that Treasury needs to consider. And we need a clear policy on this, how we support our manufacturing sector. So we've got to move beyond just passing the laws. We've got to look at policy. We've got to look at policy that is holistic, policy that looks after our manufacturers, and policy that looks to reducing the cost of products that are available to our local people, Mr. Speaker. Another thing that we need to look at, Mr. Speaker, for example, cooking oil. Now, we know we've got significant production of palm oil in Papua New Guinea, and a small amount of that is used internally, and I think companies like KK Kingston and others, they pick up this palm oil from the production in Papua New Guinea, and then they make it available to our local people. Now, we are paying world market prices for that, Mr. Speaker. There should be some incentive from government that causes some of this local production to be available cheaper so that our people can get the benefit of this, Mr. Speaker. If you look at Indonesia, for example, Indonesia is the largest producer of palm oil in the world. Now, 50% of their production is kept in country. They don't export it, Mr. Speaker. They use it to produce cheap biofuel, and they also use it to produce cheap cooking oil and other products that they use in baking and manufacturing and so on and so forth, Mr. Speaker. We don't have a similar policy here. So again, I want to ask the government to take a look at this. If it's through the Ministry of the Good Minister, Honorable Richard Maru, that is fine. But we've got to take a look at what is making it difficult for our local manufacturing companies, one, to be successful in country, and two, to provide them the platform upon which hopefully they can start exporting and competing on even footing with others in the global market. Those are my contributions, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you for the time.
To all member belong. Kiriwina.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Me too, me like participate lo this debate. Na me like talk some me like supporting this bill.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more updates on PNG Pulse.